What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty behind the camera, and sitting in front of us is the 2024 Volkswagen Taos, and this is in the top tier SEL trim level. So we're going to take a look at all of the features that this Taos has to offer today. We're going to have quite a bit to look at, since we're going to start on the exterior, kind of detail all the features. We'll pop the hood, see what powers the Taos, then we'll see how much cargo room we have. We'll then check out the rear seat space and finally end up at the front seats, kind of checking out all of the technology and features this vehicle has to offer. Now, if you are interested in seeing how the Taos is on a test drive, check out my channel Ty Drives, because we have filmed that too in a first-person kind of POV format. So take a look at that as well. But back to the features on the Taos. Now, the SEL actually gets a lighting upgrade, as you can see on the kind of side of the lens there. You can see it's got the IQ lighting technology. So basically, the Taos S, which is the base, and the SE will get kind of reflector LED headlights. The SEL will get projector LED headlights. So the daytime running lights, the high and low beams, and also the turn signals are all LED on the SEL trim level. So it looks very nice, very appealing to the eye. And we also have these kind of bars that go into the Volkswagen emblem, and they're also illuminated. So you kind of have a little light bar going on. Lots of glossy black elements in the front, kind of going around with this swoop pattern all the way to blocking out most of the front bumper with glossy black. And then you also have a little bit of silver accents down there. Now, the Taos is a very close reminiscence, I think, to the Atlas, just obviously a much more scaled down version. The hood is almost like a miniature version of the Atlas with the creases. And another thing that's pretty close to the Atlas is these wheels here. So these wheels are very close to the Atlas SEL wheels. Very nice looking 19-inch setup on here with the gloss black painted pockets and the silver trimming on the face of the wheel. 235/45 is the size of the tires, and if we take a look down the side, we have all the plastic trim that goes around the wheels and down the side. Protect your paint. We have the Taos logo on the fenders. Taking a look down the side, we have chrome trim on the bottom of the windows. We also have roof rails and a panoramic roof with the shark fin antenna up there. And flipping around so that you can see our mirrors, they do have blind spot warning within the glass. And we also have smart key entry on both the front door handles with this little button here. You just tap that button to lock and unlock. Get the little Volkswagen emblem on the B pillars. And a quick look at our window sticker reveals a $36,131 price tag. Now, this is a pretty much fully loaded Taos SEL with all-wheel drive too. So that is pretty much the top of the line vehicle. That's the most you'll be spending on a Taos. Taking a look towards the back, you can see the spoiler. Better view of the shark fin antenna. You have our third brake light, third wiper back here, and full LED tail lamps. So take a look at that. Very nice design for the tail lamps. So the turn signals, tail lights, and brake lights are all LED on the Taos. Couple of badging, all kind of towards the bottom of the trunk lid. We have our model designation, the Taos logo at the bottom of the plate frame, and our 4Motion all-wheel drive badging. We also have our trunk release and the reversing camera right below the Volkswagen emblem. Some chrome accents towards the bottom. We also get rear parking sensors too. And a huge thanks to Valenti Volkswagen in Watertown, Connecticut for providing this Taos for us to film today. If they're nice enough to allow me to borrow this car for a couple hours of their time, they're definitely nice enough to get you in a new Volkswagen. But what do you guys think of the exterior design of the Taos? I think it looks really good, especially with the new wheels this year. Under the hood of the Taos, we will find one single engine option, regardless if you go with the basic S, the SE, or the SEL trim level, and that is a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder Puts out some pretty good power figures, 158 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, so quite a bit of torque. Now the interesting part is, if you go with front-wheel drive, you get a conventional 8-speed torque converter transmission, but if you go with the all-wheel drive like we have here, you get a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. So I'm not quite sure why the difference between the dual-clutch and conventional transmissions with the front and all-wheel drive, but it is pretty cool that this one has the dual-clutch transmission, and definitely check out our video on the test drive, since you will be putting this motor through its paces to see if it has enough horsepower. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Notice how there's not really any engine cover underneath the hood here, and we still have an oil dipstick too, so that is pretty cool. And the hood is held up with a prop. Let's take a look at how much trunk space we have on the Taos. Now, one thing I would have liked to seen, at least on this top-end SEL, is a power trunk lid. But we do have a manual trunk lid regardless of what trim you get. Now, if you just paid attention to the motion I did there to lift it up, it really doesn't take much effort. So that kind of could be not a necessary complaint, but just something I'd like to see. Back here, though, we have a nice wide opening. This really is a pretty large vehicle for the segment that it's in. So lots of trunk space, lots of room to put taller items in. You can also fold down the rear seats with the handles in the back here. You can see with this handle, just push it forward like so, and the seats will move forward and fold down. Now there's also a pass-through right there too, so you can see with the seats folded down at a 60-40 split, you have lots and lots of room. We have a built-in grocery bag hanger over here and LED illumination. And to the other side, we have some more hooks and a 12-volt power outlet back here. A couple of storage cubbies, one to either side. And if we lift up the cargo protection mat, we have a regular carpet. And if you lift that up, you can see we have the subwoofer for the speaker system. A little bit of storage around the spare tire too, and it is a kind of donut-sized spare tire. And of course, once you're done in the trunk, locate the big handle at the top and pull it right on down. It really is pretty easy. Let's get our first glance at the interior of the Taos with the rear seats. Now, this particular Taos has a very interesting interior color. They actually call it French roast and black leather. So there's not a whole lot of that French roast color out back, but you'll definitely see it up front, so stay with us here. Up here, we do have some pretty hard-to-the-touch materials all the way down here, but it does get nice and soft where your elbow's going to rest with some stitching. We get some metallic accents with your door handle and a pretty good amount of storage back here too. Now we are working with the Beats audio system on this car, so the SEL gets the nice Beats audio. And here is our rear seats. You could kind of see some of that French roast color. It's kind of like a dark coffee color, so it's a very, very neat naming and a pretty nice color choice for the Taos. We do have some white stitching too on the car, and one more thing we can fold down besides the seats is the armrest. So you can see two cup holders within the armrest and the handle to fold down the pass-through. And again, like you saw before, we do have the handles right here to fold down the seats, and they do fold down pretty much flat with the cargo floor. Nice big panoramic sunroof on this one, which is an option on the SE trim level. We'll hop in and see how much space we have back here. Now, pretty impressive amount of space back here. I'd say it's almost as big as a Tiguan as far as legroom. Take a look at that. Now, I am 5'10", and I already adjusted this seat to a comfortable driving position, and still, I would say I have 4 or 5 inches left sitting behind myself. Now, there is a couple of creature comforts back here. We do have some air vents we can turn on and off, also a USB-C charger, and a pretty small drivetrain hump in the center. So yeah, you could definitely fit a third passenger back here. It might be a little bit scrunched width-wise, but legroom-wise, I don't see an issue. Actually a pretty large vehicle for this segment. We've got blind spot windows there, and nice big sunroof, of course. Some LED illumination to each side and grab handles, and a pretty nice look at the front cabin, which we will head to next. Alright, so let's get our first look at the front cabin of the Taos, and you can definitely see more of that French roast color on the driver's door with some accented stitching. We have much better materials up here too, so soft to the touch up here, kind of a leatherette down here, and down onto your armrest is all kind of leatherette with that stitching. We have more accents with our door handle and the lock unlock button. We have our window lockout, all of our regular window controls, and our heated mirror adjustments. And one more button down here is to release your fuel door. Again, our Beats speakers. We have one more on the driver's door, and a pretty decent amount of storage here too. On the left of the dash, we can see the dash is also accented in that French roast color. We have this kind of nice metallic gray accent around the air vent. We have all of our headlight controls, and down here, I apologize the mess, but of course it is winter time up here in the Northeast. We have our release for the tilt telescoping steering wheel, our pedals, and our hood release here. And that's our first view at the seats. Very nice combination of white piping, white stitching, black leather, and the French roast leather. So pretty cool looking seats, and they are definitely pretty comfortable as well. We have two-way adjustable lumbar too, along with the rest of the adjustments. Let's take a look at the technology inside of the Taos. Right, so here's the key. It's a typical Volkswagen key with the emblem on the back. We have a lock, unlock, trunk release, and remote start on the key too, with a panic alarm at the side. And we also have a kind of a switch up here so we can release a physical key. We of course have push button start in the Taos, and the button is located right next to the shifter. And the engine upon startup is actually really nice and quiet. Now let's take a look at the steering wheel first. It's all leather wrapped with that white stitching on the inside. We have some nice silver accents, a little bit of glossy black, and the Volkswagen emblem on the airbag cover. We have all of our adaptive cruise controls over here, audio volume, audio stations, and then we have our voice commands, heated steering wheel button, and the rest of the controls, the arrows, OK, and the view button are all for our digital dashboard, which we'll get to in just a second. Behind the steering wheel, we do have a toggle for all of our safety features, so we could turn on and off our lane keeping assist, blind spot monitor, all of that good stuff. And then we also have our high beams and our turn signals as well over there. To the other side, we of course have our front and rear wipers. And that brings me up to our fully digital gauges. Now, on the Taos, you have two different choices of digital gauges. Now, the S and the SE will come with a little bit of a smaller digital gauge setup, but digital gauges are standard, whereas the SEL comes with the full digital gauge setup. Now, the only things that are not digital is the coolant temperature over here and the gas gauge right over there. Again, we're going to use these adjustments here to get different views. So we can press the view button and we'll get different gauge setups. We kind of have three main ones that you can take a look at. And then if we scroll down, we could see different information within the center of the screen. So that is pretty cool. If you kind of click the overview screen, that's kind of my favorite. It gives you the most information in kind of like a compact sort of idea. And if you scroll to the side, we can get our different navigation settings, audio, telephone, and your vehicle status. So that, and then also a driver's information screen. So pretty customizable gauge cluster screen. And again, if you click the view button, you can get a whole different setup of the gauges with the information that you selected. Now, a couple of bits of information up top that stays constant. You have the compass, your speed limit. We also have your time, lane keeping assist, and exterior temperature. And at the bottom we have our speed, what gear we're in, and also your heated steering wheel kind of informational, since there's no real light or any indicators right here as to if your heated steering wheel is on, so they just display it up there. Taking a look up at our other upper dash, it is a hard to the touch material, but we have a nice big storage tray right up there. And that brings me down to our touchscreen, which does feel a little bit outdated nowadays compared to the giant 10 or 12-inch screens that we're used to. This is a more moderate 8-inch screen, and we've got a couple of clock faces that you could choose from when the screen is off. And when we press the on button, it'll bring us to the radio screen. Now we do kind of have a home screen, I guess you could say, with a jumbulation of all your different apps. And this is also kind of motion sensitive, so if we swipe your hand like so, that will do a couple of different adjustments with the screen, so that's pretty neat. We have shortcuts to either side of the volume knob and tune knob, so we could dive into the radio, where we have our preset set up over here, what's playing up top. We have our sources, a station list. All of our presets are displayed right here, and also a tuning knob, which is pretty cool. If you go to media, that's kind of more to do with your phone. We have a phone screen, of course, as well, your voice commands. And we can also pull up your navigation, which is actually built in the Taos SEL. And we have our app screen, which has to do with the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. And then we also have a car screen, which kind of shows your trip settings, and also you could adjust what you see in the digital cockpit with this screen right here. We have our driving data, which you just saw, and the vehicle status. So if there's any kind of service reminders and things like that, or low tire pressure, that will pop up over here. And we can also select an off-road screen, which is pretty neat. It'll kind of give you the steering angle, a compass, and also your elevation, which is pretty cool. And then also your oil temperature, coolant temperature. So a couple of pretty cool things on the off-roading screen there. If you go back to menu, there are a couple of other things I wanted to show you, such as your assist systems. You could kind of turn on and off. You could kind of select each one, and that will kind of activate or deactivate each assist systems as you want. The App Connect just has to do with the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. We saw the vehicle screen. We also have the sound adjustments. We'll swipe over to the climate control, which is kind of redundant because we do have physical climate controls down below. And then we also have our settings and the Volkswagen CarNet, also a help screen there too. So, and then we can also swipe from the top to get our gauge cluster dimming, and also different like navigation settings and audio settings too. Some notifications will pop up there as well, but that's pretty much it for the touchscreen on the car. You can see the dashboard is pretty nicely accent going all the way across with that French roast color and kind of that metallic gray painted trim too, so that's pretty nice. A couple of air vents, and right in the middle is your hazards button. Very simple climate control with this car. 3 simple knobs and a couple of buttons up top, and your temperature displays right here. So it is a dual zone automatic climate control with your defrosters right here, temperatures here, and then fan speed in the center. We can pull up that climate menu by just pressing that button there too, so that's pretty neat. We have our heated seats over here and our cooled seats. This has heated and cooled seats up front. And then this button here will adjust where the air comes out. So the screen will kind of come up at the bottom once you press that button. And you can either touch the screen or just keep pressing the button to adjust where the air comes out. It's a very simple climate control, automatic and dual zone too with that. We have 2 USB connections over here, and also a 12-volt power outlet. And uniquely enough, there's actually a vent under here, so when you're putting your phone on the wireless charging pad, it doesn't get too hot. Now that is pretty cool. It's something I never noticed on the Taos. I don't know if it's a new feature, I just never noticed it, but that is pretty neat. So yes, we do have a wireless charging pad there, and it can also double as a storage area. Now just in back of that storage area, we of course have the start-stop for the engine. Start-stop feature, we could turn that on and off, so when your car comes to the stoplight, you don't want the engine turning off, we can bypass that right there. And that brings me to the shifter. So we have park, reverse with our backup camera, and parking sensors, of course. And we of course have neutral, drive, and once we're in drive, that'll kind of put you in your normal mode. If you bump it down like so, that will put the transmission into a sport mode, and if you bump it over, that'll put it into manual mode, so then you could shift the gears down here with the shifter. We of course have our electronic parking brake and a couple of different driving modes. So we have like 4 different base driving modes. So we have a snow, kind of a normal driving mode, and then a off-road, and then a custom off-road mode, which you can adjust. So that is pretty interesting. I don't know how many people are going to be taking their Volkswagen Taos off-roading, but that is there for you. But if you go back to our normal mode, you can see there's kind of 4 modes within there. So we have Eco, Normal, Sport, and then a custom mode, another one that you can kind of configure. So pretty cool amount of driving modes there. We'll keep it in Eco for now. Right down here we have a couple of cup holders and a storage tray. Maybe to put some pens or some loose change. And we have a little tiny armrest, which is pretty deep though, and it does go in towards the cup holders. It's nice and soft and has some stitching there too, so that's pretty nice. And the overall feel of quality in this car is actually pretty good. Not necessarily the materials. I would like to see a little bit better than hard to the touch materials on the dash and on the back doors, but the kind of the fit and finish, you know, everything's kind of screwed together very solidly in here, and you just get a good feeling of solidity in here. On the passenger side, we have a glove box that drops down. It's actually pretty large, kind of in a bin style. Up here we have a full gray headliner, and we do have that full panoramic sunroof with the shade. Blocks most of the light, and you can open it up like so. We have some SOS and maintenance buttons up here, our sunshade controls, as well as some illumination buttons, all LED illumination inside. And this button here will be to either vent or slide the sunroof itself. And now that that shade is fully open, we could see what it looks like open, and it definitely does air up this cabin quite a bit. One more thing I'd like to talk about is this mirror. So it is auto dimming. It also has garage door openers, and it also has a compass, and it's frameless too, so it's a pretty nice looking mirror and a good view out the back. Can't forget the sun visors. Once we open those up, we have card holders, lights, and a mirror too. So that pretty much does it for all of the features on this Taos SEL. Make sure you join us for the test drive video, and that pretty much does it. I hope you stick with us here and subscribe for future videos, and I thank you very much for watching.